So, the spoilers are out for My Hero Academia Manga Chapter 365, and let's just say that this chapter has broken the internet once again, but this time we are going to be focusing on two different characters, and who might they be, and why are they important? Well, you're just going to have to watch this video to find out, but first, right after this. Hey guys, how's it going? It is your boy, Manga Drew, and I'm here to cover the spoilers once again for My Hero Academia Manga Chapter 365, titled Number 4 and Number 5. And with this title in place, you can probably tell who we're going to be focusing on in this chapter. Yes, we're going to be focusing on Shigaraki and Mirko, and I guess Edshot as well. And from what we see with the spoilers, there are some very controversial things going on in this chapter when it comes to both Mirko, Edshot, as well as Shigaraki that has caused the internet to go up in flames. So let's dive right into it and see what's going on in this chapter and to see why this may be controversial. For starters, the spoilers start off with this chapter with narration, talking about Edshot's quirk, saying that his ultimate move allows his body to become as thin as a spider web. He dissolves and is going inside of Bakugo's chest and uses one of the bubbles Wash gave him to sanitize his body. And here's where a main controversy is coming in. How did Edshot get a hold of Wash's bubble? Because from what we understand, Wash's bubble have the ability to disinfect and cause people to become clean and healthy to a certain extent. And the issue is, how did Edshot get a hold of this bubble? Well, most likely he got it from Wash. Why didn't we see him get it from Wash? Also, where was this bubble when he was turning into this thin string-like substance? With this, we're going to have to get a really thorough explanation in the actual chapter because as far as we know, it may not necessarily have been in his body or on his possession at that moment, but that he may have gotten it from somewhere else, which is a possibility since they are in UA and potentially there are a lot of stuff in here. And one of the things could just be bubbles that Wash gave them for them to use later on. But this is something we're going to have to deal with when the actual translations come out, but from what we see with the next lines of text spoilers, the narrator says that Genus has sewn up some parts, but others have escaped his grasp. And the lung was also damaged, so Edshot will make sure that all of the wounds are sutured and then make sure that the heart starts beating again from the inside. So the implication is that Edshot is able to sew up certain parts of the body, and by doing so is going to eventually lead to Bakugo being revived, which means that the heart is going to be closed up, parts of his lungs are going to be fixed, which means that he'll be able to be revived by just having his heart beat and blood flow throughout his body. So, and this is something that people are kind of saying is a contradiction or a mistranslation because from what we saw last chapter, the implication is that Edshot would become parts of Bakugo's body. And that could still be a possibility by him turning into string and then molding that string into different parts or different patches to fix his other body parts. But most likely than not, it's more of an exaggeration of him actually doing the suturing, or it could just be a mistranslation on the part of Shonen Jump. But from what we see with the next line of text spoilers, we're going to be having a heavy focus on Mirko fighting off against Shigaraki. Because the next line of text spoilers say that Edshot hopes that Genus and Mirko will find a way to hold Shigaraki back, because if Bakugo takes any more damage, there will be nothing they can do. The narration says that besides being very difficult to control, this technique consumes the user's lifetime considerably. So this is more implications that Edshot is potentially going to die after all of this is done, and if it consumes his life force, then it doesn't matter whether or not he gets revived or even if Bakugo gets rewound inside of him, that he's most likely going to be dying in this moment of triumph to try and resurrect Bakugo, so that's something that we need to keep in mind. And then here's something else that's interesting about this chapter, as we see that Shigaraki asks what they are doing because he has already broken that toy. In mid-sentence, his pronoun changes from Boku, all for one, to Ore, Shigaraki, specifically Tomura, as he remembers the time he told the doctor that he would destroy everything in the beginning of My Villain Academia. Veins start popping out on his forehead and he jumps towards Bakugo in rage. But before he can do anything, Mirko jumps in front of him and hits him with a kick. He bites her leg with one of his mouth hands and asks if She wants to be crushed that badly, but this makes Mirko even angrier and causes her to rip off her own right arm and kick Shigaraki again. And then we get that the kick did real damage to Shigaraki and he doesn't understand why, since he should be in a perfect state. Then he remembers the hits Bakugo landed earlier and thinks, no, it can't be. So there's a few implications for what this could potentially mean. It could mean that something that we're going to get later on, that the reason why he's able to be taking damage now is because of something that he's feeling that he hasn't really felt prior to this moment, and we'll get to that a little bit later. Or the implication is that the attacks that have been placed on him by Bakugo is actually allowing for Mirko to land real damage on him. And what does this real damage mean? We actually aren't sure. The images are not clear enough to see what damage is actually being done to Shigaraki. And people have been making comparisons to how Shigaraki was able to survive the massive nukes or the massive attacks done by Bakugo as well as Star and Stripe, but he's getting murked by Mirko in this moment. So this is also going to be something that we're going to need more clarification on when the translations come out, so we're just gonna have to wait and see what this actually means. And from here, we're just getting a lot more cool moments with Mirko as Genis catches Mirko in midair and with his cables places her close to Shigaraki and helping her to run on all fours with both arms and with only one leg. She screams, "How nice are you, King of Demons?" Shigaraki is about to land a blow on her, but Mirio suddenly appears through the sea of hands and puts his hand on Shigaraki's face, blocking his vision. Shigaraki changes the direction of the hands to hit Mirio, but it's useless. Mirko asks what he's looking at and says that people only die when their time comes for good. The same line she says to the Nomus in the lab. Tomura All For One still can't understand why Bakugo's attacks did lasting damage. That's when it finally dawns on him. That uneasiness that he was feeling while facing the boy was fear. He was feeling threatened. Mirko remembers Edshot telling her to struggle and says that if she is asked to do something, she will do it flawlessly, so that in the end, she will die without any regrets. She then hits Shigaraki with several blows in a row, a move she calls Luna Rush. So from here, we're getting a lot of interesting combat between Mirko as well as Genis fighting against Shigaraki, and that the reasoning why Shigaraki has been taking damage in this fight is because he's actually fearing the heroes, and that could be affecting his ability to take damage, and that he's taking more damage the more fear that he has for an individual. So this is going to be very interesting, and that this is something that we've seen in the story of My Hero Academia involving characters and how their quirks or their bodies react to fear or react to emotion. So it's something that is most likely coherent and cohesive with the story of My Hero Academia. And now we've gotten to the end of the spoilers, where Shigaraki looks at everyone and memories begin to flood his mind. He doesn't understand why they are trying so hard to save someone who is already broken when, as a child, he was alive and no one reached out a hand to him. We see panels showing all of the members of his family, and on the last page, they all begin to rise from the sea of hands as if they were meat puppets. End of chapter. So there's a lot of implications from this chapter involving All For One Shigaraki. The fact that Shigaraki still exists inside of All For One is something that we've known for a while, and now we're getting more concrete evidence that the individual, the Tenko inside of Shigaraki, is actually Tomura, because of course it is. We're getting a little bit more of Mirko just being Mirko at her finest, getting a little bit more characterization for her character, and just seeing her go out in a massive fight, as well as possibly getting a better understanding of what's going on with Edshot and how he's able to do what he's able to do in this chapter. So until then, hopefully you enjoyed the spoilers for this chapter of My Hero Academia, and if you want to see more content like this, or you want to check out my reviews, why not subscribe to my YouTube channel and leave a like on the video, and don't forget to leave a comment down below so that this type of content can be known by YouTube and to show YouTube that you want to see more content like this. So yeah, do all that cool jazz, and hopefully I'll be able to catch you in my next video. Goodbye!